What plans does Matrix actually see itself in for the next 5 years coming up?
Over 100 of the best fighters signed to our roster.
Have you ever considered maybe a cross promotion with an agency in the future?
We've actually had promotions reach out to us. Everyone sees the market that India is, the population that we have is unmatched.
My favorite fighters is actually Sonam Zomba.
Oh, mine too.
Do you see a lot of our fighters not following that ethos?
100%.
Put your head down, work hard, win your fights, be dominant. Everything else that you want, that fame, that money, that legacy, that follows.
True. Hi guys, I'm in a candid one-on-one chat for the first time with the owners of Matrix Fight Night. It's Miss Krishna Shroff and of course the big boss lady, Ayesha Shroff.
Bring the fire, Arjun.
Very, very nice to see you. Very nice to finally, I think I've been asking for this chat since I joined 2 years ago.
Yes.
It's been a while. There have been lots of ups and downs. There have been a lot of changes in the organization. And there have been a whole new roster of fighters, a tighter fight card as we go further and further, and far more opportunities internationally for all the boys that fight for you guys. So, what are we looking at for the next one? I mean, I know the fight card. You were gracious enough to send it to me 2 months ago.
That's right.
But the minute it got released, I got contacted by a couple of guys saying, have you seen the card? Have you seen the card? 10 fights, 9 international fights, X, Y, Z. I mean, okay, let me just talk to these guys. Let me figure it out.
The less we say about the card, the better. I think it speaks for itself. I think this is by far the biggest fight card that we've put together. It just has that state fight feel. I think, MFN 16 saw a lot of newcomers and debuts. This one's some of the OGs. It has the biggest names, the biggest stars that we have at our promotion fighting under one roof the same night. And, a lot of these guys are going up against some solid international talent. So that just shows you the growth of Indian MMA and, the belief that we have in our guys and girls. I think they're in this position now to be able to stand up to those guys on a global stage.
True. I mean, I've been one of my favorite fighters is actually Sonam Zomba.
Oh, mine too.
Sonam's awesome. And, she comes from that Vidhan fight camp.
I just recently saw on Tapology, she's ranked #1 in the strawweight division now, which was so awesome to see in all of South Asia.
Yeah. I mean, I'm way she's fighting, and her last opponent, she was a Singaporean strawweight that she faced off against. And I love giving everybody the benefit of the doubt. We're going to see what's going to happen. I never say what's going to happen. I never know what's going to happen. You compare records and you see it. As analysts, that's what my job is.
Oui.
But I did not expect a one-sided beatdown. I mean, you saw that, right?
And she is fantastic.
And that girl came from a lot of experience.
Yeah.
I think she fought at one as well.
And she fought everywhere.
Yeah,
she's fought at SFC, she's fought at Kangu, she's fought at one. And it's not that it's the kind of experience that you get from that kind of fighting will give you a different kind of, you walk into a fight with a very different look in your eyes. You're far calmer, you're far more experienced, you're far more relaxed. There was no time for her to relax.
Absolutely.
And Sonam, a lot of guys, and I'm going to say this candidly, a lot of Indian fighters have been sent overseas as fighting fodder for them to lose. And there are tons of people who are part of the management, who I know, who've been part of the sport, who've been sending them. So, you know what I mean. But my point is that I hate it when people say like, oh, our guys don't get a lot of international exposure, which is why I have so much respect for an organization that puts it together for them on Indian soil. So, the increase in international fighters was a well thought out plan, wasn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah. Because, we are at the core an Indian promotion here to promote Indian fighters. But the thing is, when we began, we had all Indian fighters.
Right.
Then we wanted to see where the levels were going. And slowly, surely, we have seen that wonderful growth. Of course, we're still a long way off from a UFC level, by far. And I would request fighters and coaches to be a little patient and understanding of the overall game, and be realistic about where they are currently. But as we went along and our boys and girls were showing up every time, that's when we started introducing some of the foreign fighters. And then now, I think with 17, like Krishna says, the card speaks for itself. Even the level of international fighters that come on are going up. That level is going up. that also has a lot to do with the respect that MFN has earned,
Right.
internationally. We like to call ourselves a boutique promotion. We are a small promotion. But I think whatever it is that we're doing with our heart. We're doing it as professionally as we possibly can. I think the results speak for themselves. And the kind of reputation we have built is priceless, to be honest. We have the biggest promotions reaching out to us now and, talking about collaborations. We have fighters and their managers reaching out and saying, we'd love to be on an MFN card. And that's so heartening,
So a boutique promotion no longer then?
So I guess,
Because this is straight up mainstream
no
alley.
longer.
Yeah, no longer.
No, which brings me to a very good question. In fact, you gave me the idea just now. If we're at the doorstep of knocking on the doors of so many other promotions knocking back right now, have you ever considered maybe a cross promotion with an agency in the future?
We've actually had promotions reach out to us, some of the biggest in the world today, for that cross promotion. I think everyone sees the market that India is, the population that we have is untouched, and they're slowly seeing the potential, right, in this market, in this side of the world. So yeah, I mean, we have had people reach out to us, and just a testament to what we've been able to achieve through Nature's Fight Night, putting Indian MMA on the global map and them seeing the level that we have. It's a great feeling. It's something I'm super, super proud of.
So proud of.
Yeah. And the Indian market is actually really hard to break into.
And tell me that.
Here is another...
Yes, madam.
Possible.
No.
In a sport like MMA, right?
Correct.
So I think they understand that they see what we've done for the sport and with the sport. And the fact that they see that capability just shows that we're on the right path.
Yeah, absolutely.
I always say that anything new requires patience and a certain amount of philanthropy.
And a little bit of madness as well.
Sure, absolutely. And that is definitely coming across from the way you are passionate about the entire league. And I like the way that it's always, crazy people will always find crazy people.
So true.
Yeah.
I mean, when you found me, I was like, I'm ready.
Sense.
Yeah. I'm ready. I'm ready to do this. Call me any day or anytime. I'm ready to do this. But it's, it's always, I remember when I started, when I was contacted first to work with you guys, and I was like, okay, I've been watching MFN and I was watching it, not watching it, but then I started looking at the fights, and then I started looking at the fights more, and then I shared it with a group of very, very hardcore guys, like big guys who've been watching the sport for 25 years like me, and these guys were like, okay, let's look back now. MMA started in India in 2012. We are now 13 years ahead, and the growth is not into 2 or into 4. It can't be mapped because I think exponentially it has just jumped off the scale. Because at one point there were people who loved the brawl, people loved the stand-up war. And I remember hearing a guard pass being cheered on in the last fight.
Right.
Firstly, I couldn't hear anything. Let's just say that one thing. That Siri fort was rumbling.
Yeah.
It was just going...
Yeah.
And I had to turn around and tell somebody to shut up. Because I'm like, please, I need a little bit of security next time. There are a couple of guys who are just like ready to get at me. But that being said, India is slowly becoming an educated audience. And a lot of that is thanks to you. Because if the level of MMA doesn't go up in an organization, you can have an organization that always will put on a stand and bang fight. It's the easiest thing to do. You get 2 brawlers and say, go.
Yeah.
The more you bleed, whoever falls first gets the 50,000 bonus.
Ready.
But to have a fight where the ground game is pushed up. Guys like, I remember, firstly, I don't know, Dushyant came with like 1,000 people of his own.
Yeah.
But even when Sonam fought, and a lot of people are still trepidatious about women's fighting in India, because we have so many great athletes, we've seen so many female fighters. But for somebody like Sonam, who I'm watching, and I'm watching properly, I'm watching the way she's moving, and I'm like, since when did Babajit's camp becoming a grapple camp? Since when did Babajit start grappling so much? Because the level was so good. And to see that level in MFN was just, and a lot of my boys messaged me and said that, shit. Like, it's gone up.
Absolutely.
And then we said it with a smile on our faces because I'm like, it's not We are not in the bush leagues anymore. It's gone up and it's going up. So if the ball is already rolling, there's now no stopping regardless of whatever happens. No matter what happens to the sport will evolve. So what plans does Matrix actually see itself in for the next 5 years coming up? Now that you know that the sport is evolving on its own, anybody can step in. And that's how the North American market happened. Eventually, everybody had a place of their own there. But now, as the country leader, and a clear and cut, decisive country leader, what plans do you have for the sport for the next 5 years?
Well, I think to begin with, we are going to be culling the MFN roster very strictly. We currently have over 100 of the best fighters signed to our roster, which is great. But even from those 100, we're going to be a little brutal now. You have to show up or you ship out now.
We've made a lot of cuts.
We've made some cuts.
Because the level's gone up so much.
Let me know afterwards.
Yeah, for sure. We want to be able to focus on the guys and girls who are really putting it all there, who understand the sport, who understand that it's sport and entertainment as well, because that is the thing that is going to be a breakthrough for us, in this country. So as an organization, we are self-funded, and our shows are funded by sponsorships. I do see all the comments online and everything, and people are like, oh, you're not giving my fighter a chance, and he's fighting after a year. But bro, look at the UFC, they have 800 plus fighters.
Yes.
And a lot of them, who pop up on a card, I've never even heard of them, in all the years I've been watching the UFC. So it's the same problem with every organization. There are only so many events you have in the year.
True.
So how do you accommodate the fighters? The first criteria is that you will always accommodate your stars, because they're the guys who put in the fans. The more fans, the more sponsorships. You have to first understand the basic tenet. Now, as MFN is concerned, we are having about 4 shows a year. Right. We have 4 great shows a year, and we try to balance our fighter roster as much as we possibly can. But over this time, we have realized which are the fighters who are really treating this as a profession, who are giving their all to each event, and we will give them preference over anybody else who's just coming up, perhaps not even bothering to make weight, who just comes up, fights for the purse and then bounces. We are not interested in that anymore. You have to come here. You treat this. We give our fighters a lot of love and respect.
Yes.
We expect that in return, nothing else. We don't take a percentage, even though the contract says that we have a right to take a percentage of endorsements, etc., etc. We don't. That's for you to grow. So we don't enforce that.
Maybe in time, eventually, maybe say
when it becomes really big bucks, we look at it,
Sure.
But right now, we're a long way off from that. Right now, we want to focus on the fighters that we have and build them even more. And we are continuing our contender program as well. Some of our really great talent has come out of MFN contenders. And we have another one coming up in August this year.
Interesting.
End of August.
When is it going to be?
It's end of August.
End of August. Sorry.
Yeah.
22nd.
Yeah. So we want to make place for the deserving fighters. Let's put it bluntly, and we want to be able to give our fighters fights as frequently as possible. So you've got to really, this message is for all of the fighters, the coaches out there. You've really got to bring it every time you come to MFN, because that will ensure that your fighter is going to be fighting more frequently, for sure.
And I think something else that's really cool to see is, people are now more aware of the sport. They're not just coming for a particular fighter. Yes, they are.
Sure.
But they're also staying from beginning to end because they're becoming fans of the sport and understanding the sport, like you said, the technique and everything that goes into it as a sport. So I think, another big step forward would probably be to get on broadcast. That's where, the big bucks are going to be.
Slowly leaning towards that.
Yeah. I mean, that is the only way forward. It makes sense now that Okay, so we had to start teaching MMA from a grassroots level, right?
Sure.
Because it's such a new concept within our country. But now that knowledge and that awareness of the sport is there, we see the turnout for MFN contenders, we see the live audience that's showing up. It only makes sense.
True. But it's good that you brought up broadcast before I did. It's currently we're on Geo Hotstar. And are you looking at different channels? I'm not saying not just India. You could be looking at broadcast partners like Eurosport. You could be looking at so many
Of
places.
course, we are absolutely open.
Have you been approached by anybody so far?
We have.
Yeah.
But the deal has never been in the right place. You know, if we're gonna do that, it has to be worth it. And I mean, worth it for
Sure,
our
of
pockets.
course, of course.
So if the deal's right, 100% we're open to that.
Circling back to, it's everything is a domino effect in the sport. It all begins with the fighters because that's how it starts. If you have the right fighters, you have the right product. If you have the right product, then the business aspect becomes a lot easier to explain to somebody. Have you seen since the time you started Matrix Fight Night, where it began, which started off in Dubai, then of course we focused on India more than ever. Have you seen a lot of cooperation or even pushback? I'll come to the cooperation part because cooperation is one aspect of it, but I know this market very well as well. And did you have a lot of difficulty or pushback from corporate sponsorship while starting out?
Let's be honest, there was zero sponsorship.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Not even
zero.
say nothing?
Nothing.
People looked at it as a blood sport.
Yeah.
They didn't understand it as a sport like cricket is.
But this is despite, in 2013 and 2014, other organizations having success.
No, well,
Not
I
much
think,
success.
Yeah, exactly.
True.
The MMA community, I mean, for us, it's everything, but it's such a tiny bubble if you look
Yeah.
at it from the outside.
Of course.
So much has happened even through our journey at MFN. For instance, that massive incident at MFN 9, people outside the MMA world had no idea that even happened. But for everyone in the MMA community, that was the biggest deal ever, right? So if you look at it from a larger picture, it's such a small
It's not even a
piece.
blip.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not even a blip.
Yeah.
So, but I think it's changed actually because of MFN, where we are at today. When we started MFN 1, we had it at the Dome in Mumbai. There were about 2,000 people who came for the show, okay? And most of them were our industry friends and family and all of that stuff. And invitees. Yeah,
Right.
exactly. Zero sponsors, okay? My son was very kind to, have supported us financially in the early years. And then subsequently, he started doing very well in his work. And his endorsements, he would get a hold of them, like
Sure.
the ASICs and the Machos and all the guys who were working with him and said, my sister and my mother are doing this. I'd really be grateful if you also contributed here. It's a great sport and all of that. And then willy-nilly they came on board. And then they started realizing what an incredible sport this is,
Sure.
So slowly and gradually it has gotten easier for sure. Cut to MFN 16, we had 10,000 people who actually watched. Even though Siri Fort's capacity is relatively small, we had people who were, they were exchanging bands to be able to okay, you watch the first two
Hence
fights,
the rumbling.
then I'll go out and then you come in and watch the next two fights. We had 10,000 people locked in who watched live. And then Geo Hotstar, when we got on Hotstar first, it was Disney Hotstar. And, they were like, okay, theek hai, okay, whatever, we'll give you a slot. So we were like, oh, so grateful, we've got that slot and everything. When they saw the numbers of the people watching MFN live, they were shocked because there was some kind of cricket happening at the same time.
Yeah.
And there was a sudden drop in the cricket viewership. People moved to MFN and they were watching MMA. Then the next event, they contacted us and said, hey, can you give us some passes? We'll come and watch the show, but we're very busy. We'll stay half an hour, but we just want to get a feel of it.
Right.
They stayed all 5 hours.
Of course.
After that, the entire Hotstar team signed up for MMA classes at
Wonderful.
MMA Matrix.
Wonderful.
That too, see the growth in the viewership on Geo Hotstar now.
It's just been an upward
It's just
trajectory.
been an upward thing.
Yeah.
And on social media, we have 100 million plus views every show.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Across all our platforms.
Across
of course,
platforms,
not just the Matrix Fight Night.
No, of course.
It's been really cool to see the growth, you know. So sponsorship initially was a super tough pitch and sell, but 17 events later, I think it's not just us anymore. I think there's a group of people around us that believe in the sport and that believe in the promotion.
Yeah.
And it's become a lot more streamlined and professional along the way.
That's
And we've
good
got
to know.
We've got some people, the right people on board to now help us raise that.
Do you see Matrix just doing, I know New Delhi is a hot spot. I've seen a lot of fights happen in New Delhi, and it's just, I'll give you a statistic about City Fort a little later. But I'm saying, has that venue been good for you so far? I mean, we've done it I started off when I think I did 2 MFNs at the Noida Indoor Stadium.
Yeah.
After which you moved to City Fort.
Yeah.
And of course I saw a big difference. And I thought that might have been just geographical, but there were enough people at Noida as well, and there are more people here as well.
Yeah.
Do you see yourself moving out of this venue anytime soon?
I think we ideally would love to move around the country, to be honest. We also did one MFN, I think it was 7 in Hyderabad.
Yeah.
How
which
was that?
Phenomenal.
Hyderabad's one more city.
That's our favorite.
Yeah.
Till date. MFN 7 was by far
It
our
was
favorite
incredible.
MFN. Yeah.
Complete MMA-centric space. So,
It was the first show back post-COVID.
yeah.
And
exactly.
Banakshi was the main event.
Yeah.
So we saw the fans.
Yeah.
It was a lot
was
of fun. The energy was great.
We did it at the Falaknuma Palace. And that's
Fantastic.
another thing. We are big believers in production. Okay?
Sure.
Considering we're a film family.
I'm just coming back to that's my next one.
So we love it grand, we love it big, we love to make it a spectacle.
Which is why we're also limited in where we go.
Yeah.
Sure.
We would love to go to the Northeast.
I mean, I was going to head there.
Support.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yes,
We know the
absolutely.
fans are
Our
there.
quality of
Yeah.
production.
Sure.
Right? We set a benchmark. We
I
want to
mean,
continue.
once upon a time, I remember one of the first shows I saw internationally were Pride in Japan, and I went. I was a kid compared to obviously now, and I could hear the show 2 blocks away
Yeah.
because not just because the announcer, it was just the energy of that place and the live screens and the madness that it had. And would you ever consider doing like an outdoor show in the middle of
Falaknuma was outdoor.
in the middle of winter somewhere?
100%.
Love it.
100%.
Love it.
My dream is to have the MFN cage in the middle of a Wankhede stadium. That is my ultimate dream. Goosebumps.
I want to see the cage in front of, say, Taj Mahal. I want to see it in the middle of a city center.
Would love.
If they can do Oscar de la Hoya's promotion in the middle of Times Square, we can do the same thing.
But honestly, the fighters did enjoy that. Did you hear what Ryan Garcia had to say
I mean,
about
of
that?
course,
Yeah.
but it's not
It's
everybody's
gotta
going to
be a
like the
weird,
idea. It's weird because there's so much of there's so many. I mean, you can get distracted by anything.
Exactly.
For me,
Yeah.
the fighters are priority, to be honest,
Yeah.
right? So I want to give them the best setup possible for the best outcome in their performances.
Sure.
Because
Yeah.
that's what's going to make or break the fight.
Absolutely.
Sure, maybe we can do it as a promotional thing, maybe a one-off.
Maybe, yeah.
An exhibition bout. or
Perhaps,
something
yeah.
like that,
Or even just a face-offs, in a location like that.
Yeah.
And then keep the actual fighting for, something
Yeah, no,
that's,
exactly. Yeah.
yeah.
No, your face-offs do tend to, I wish, when I work with a few organizations, I think the face-offs become really fun when it happens in a more public environment.
Yeah, definitely.
And I remember doing it in a mall once, and I was screaming at the top of my voice because everybody was too busy shopping or whatever. And I remember my co-anchor in Abu Dhabi, she picked up the mic and she's like, "Shirtless dudes here." And all the women ran out and they came downstairs. Very good sales pitch. She's like, "Just shut up, let me do this." So the value of doing outdoor promotion, because these guys, I don't care who you are, you're going to stop and see a fight. You're going to stop and see 2 people staring at each other. You're going to stop. People stop for lamer reasons than that.
Yeah.
So if you do it in the middle of a public spectacle, do you think for August you might plan something public for the face-offs?
No, I don't think so. For the simple reason that Krishna and I, a little bit, we have an OCD problem.
Okay.
So, which is maybe not a problem also. It's not. It's not.
Not when we're running a promotion.
We like things to be in a more controlled environment and a more organized environment. And like I said, we just like it bigger. Yeah.
A little bit of chaos might be good fun though.
I want the fighters to bring the chaos.
With the fighters, you know what I mean? That we have on this card, we're gonna get the fans regardless. Right?
Sure.
So
Sure.
I'm not worried about where we do it. I think the guys that we have on this card are just gonna sell it themselves.
And I like the fact that the boys are now starting to understand self-promotion.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm seeing Abdul, of course, he doesn't have to do much. He's been around for so long. So many, even the girls now, they're not shying back anymore.
They know the game.
You know, once upon a time, the girls were no hands behind their back, bowing down. And I said, and now it's just boom, it's changed.
Yeah, absolutely.
Unless you promote yourself, nobody's going to promote you. You have to sell yourself to bring the bucks into the organization, and then you get paid more automatically.
And we can push you that much, but you're the only one that can take yourself to that next level.
Exactly. I mean, early days when we had the press conference, it would be Krishna and myself sitting up there, and a few other people who I will not name anymore, sitting up there, and we would be just droning on and on about the same old thing. And then when those non-named people were removed, then Krishna and I decided that we've always wanted it to be about the fighters, you know?
Yes.
So hence now the fighters are the ones sitting up there. We sit in the audience, you know, and unless we have something specific to say, then we go up and we say it, obviously. But the focus is the fighters, you know, and that's the way it should be. And we've started opening the press conference to fans as well as press.
Yes,
you know?
I'm noticing more and more. In fact, there's this guy called Nikhil. And the first time he interviewed me was a couple of years ago in the lockdown, when he worked for Z Sports. And he just, you know, he called me up saying that I need to speak to you right now. I'm like, what about it? He's like, MFN launched their card. I'm like, I'll be back home at 11 o'clock tonight. Look, I don't care. I'm like, all right, okay, I will do it. And even, you know that kid, Sufyan, which you guys flew down to, he messaged me this morning saying, sir, aap kab free ho? I said, "Ek kaam karo." I said, why doesn't he chat with you? That would be the straight source. He's like, no, I want to talk to you. I want to talk to you. Let's do a segment again on Abdul. I said, let him fight. I'm like, I want him to fight first, and then we can do all the segments. I don't want to disturb him. I don't want to talk. I want to see how he's doing. I want to see how he recovered. And that's the thing I said on the last podcast. I said, you know what, he lost. I don't give a crap about winning or losing. It's how you lose. It's how you win. He's a carefree, wonderful fighter who's he's been careful, but always thrown caution to the wind. Entertain first.
Entertaining fighter.
Entertain first, and then we'll figure the rest out.
That's why he's been at the top of the game for so long.
And but one thing I said that I didn't like about what he's doing now is, I wish he was fighting at a heavier weight class.
I had this conversation with him.
And I said, why are you going back down to featherweight? Because if you're trying to prove a point, don't. Because as we grow older, it becomes harder and harder to cut weight.
He's 28. He's still a kid.
Not in the years of fighting, though. If you've had so many miles on you, it doesn't matter. Can you imagine Max Holloway is 33?
Listen, every time he's fought a lightweight, back in SFL, all those times, he was underweight.
No,
he was 68 or 69 kilos.
But I remember him last time. I remember him seeing him. He was a lot fuller. He was a lot bigger. He looked
MFN 14?
Stronger. No. In the last fight, I know his cut was bad. I could tell his weight cut. I saw him in the sauna. I saw him on fight night. I've seen a million fighters at this point. You can tell.
No, to be honest, I think you're wrong because I lived with him. He had the easiest weight cut of his life.
But it's the recovery, maybe.
He was winning that fight until he wasn't, right? And the only, I mean, that's the game. That's the sport. You can get one good hit in, and that's the end of it.
But now I'm going to come. Now we're going to be a little technical, because I've seen that guy take many shots before. And when you're heavier on the heavier side, and if you're very well rehydrated, your ability to take shots becomes a lot more. And that's why I was a little surprised. Yes.
That I agree with you for sure.
Yeah. There's always been a day where that one freak shot has knocked even the best of the best out.
Yeah.
But it's the way he fell, the way he went out. I have analyzed it, and I've seen this guy fight before. What happened? His weight cut he might have been on point. But no, he's not rehydrated perfectly.
He would not agree with you.
he might not agree with me, but that's my job.
Listen, this is what I love about him, right? For him, it's zero excuses. He's been through
Exactly.
it, been through shit. He's like,
And it's not an excuse.
I got hit with a good shot, and it is what it is. That's it.
True.
So for him, it's very simple, right? It's either a win or a loss, and it doesn't go beyond that.
No, I mean, that's why we love him, and that's why I love fighters who don't have, they has nothing to say after the fight. He's like, cool, I lost.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens the next time.
Yeah.
But from a fight analyst's point of view, and I've been his friend for a long time, I always told him, I said, fight heavier. Please fight
I've had this
heavier.
conversation with him
Just
as well,
move
yeah.
up to lightweight.
Yeah.
Please move up to lightweight. Because you don't realize how much of a difference. I mean, he knows, but
But he walks around at 77.
that's my point.
A 7 kilo cut.
That's my point.
I don't know.
That's my point. Now, okay, this is a separate. We'll do this another day when I do a podcast with you or something.
Yeah.
That we can sit and argue for hours the benefits of day cut.
as well, because I want you to hear him out.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to disagree with him.
That's fine.
It's fine. I personally won't care.
I feel
They're all
like
right.
he'd
That's
be great
fine.
at lightweight. But to be honest, right now,
He would be great at lightweight.
He's joined Mutant, right? So he's in there doing training with those guys. And when I see videos of him sparring with someone like Digambar, who fights lightweight, he looks a lot smaller than Digambar.
Sure. I mean, because Digambar is also very tall.
He's
And
a big
Digambar
lightweight.
is cutting from like, what, 90?
No.
No, I'm exaggerating. it's like a joke. So, no, but Digambar's cutting a fair amount of weight himself. You can't get to that frame of lightweight. He's cutting at least 10 kilos.
But then you're rehydrating to that.
Sure, and that's what I'm trying to say. So if the difference tomorrow is going to be 80 and 77, I'd rather have to fight at 77 because he'll be far looser, he'll be far
70.
more. Yeah. No, well, he'll fight at 70, but his weight on fight night will be 75, 77.
Right.
So I'd rather have him heavier
You know
in
what his
weight.
weight was at MFN 14, fight night?
No.
He gained 10 kilos back. He was 75 kilos, fight night.
Yeah, but it's a different kind of weight cut. The cut might be fine. The rehydration might be fine for you at that point in time. You're still fighting 36 hours.
Yeah.
And so it's we saw recently somebody cut a lot of weight. And then you you have to decide where that fight goes. So if you're going to, it also works on your gas tank. It works on a lot of things.
For sure, 100%.
So what I only see, and I've seen this over the years that's happened, that I don't care if you're Joanna Jędrzejczyk, when she had a bad weight cut, she got knocked out in 2 punches. And I've seen that woman get battered for 5 rounds. It is the oldest story. A bad weight cut can do that.
Well, guess what? He's back at featherweight.
But he's
So
back
let's
at
see what
featherweight.
happens.
Despite what I'm saying, he's back at featherweight. But it's a good thing he doesn't listen to me because then things would go very
Listen, if
differently.
he doesn't listen to me, he's not going to listen to you.
It's funny, I keep saying this over and over. I've said this in at least 10 podcasts by now, saying that a good organization becomes a breeding ground for the sport in that country. And despite having produced so many exports, I'll call them exports because they've literally gone and, been successful in different organizations. But to still get a lot of negative publicity despite being a breeding ground and a machine that is exporting Indian fighters out of the country, why is that happening? I can't wrap my head around it. Why the negative publicity?
Negative publicity as...
No, in the sense that, it's the same people, I will not take names obviously, but people who are part of the industry, who talk about the organization and then, if they don't get their opportunities to go when they want, they've come back and fought with the same people that got them their chances in the first place.
Well, I think everyone needs to wake up to the fact that there is such a thing as a contract,
Sure.
And while MFN, we have never, ever hesitated in saying that we are here to build Indian talent, for them to reach the next level. For me, the next level after MFN is the UFC,
Sure.
So if you want to go to the UFC, we will give you our blessings, and we have done so in the past. But there's a protocol that you need to follow.
Sure.
Begin by respecting your contract. First of all, at the last press conference, because I knew that there was something of this sort bubbling and boiling, I made it a point to say, fighters, read your contracts.
Did you notice a couple of regular people who normally ask the questions, especially about, fighters leaving and looking outwards? Did you notice they shut up after that?
Did
They didn't have. No, I remember.
Okay.
I remember who didn't talk.
Just have the courtesy to at least
I think we need a translator next time. Because my mom very clearly stated everything. I mean, as crystal clear as possible, right? But I think we do need a translator to be
I mean, yes,
honest.
Salil, he speaks perfect Hindi. He really should.
I think everyone's realized that we mean business, and
We're not that same promotion we were 16 shows ago.
yeah.
Of course.
I
Of
mean,
course.
to be honest, without the platform that we've built, without this promotion that we've built, I do genuinely believe Indian MMA would be stagnant. It would be stuck. There would be no
I
next
agree.
level to get to. So what are you working for?
I
You know,
agree.
you're not getting income. You're not able to make it a full-time profession. Nobody knows who you are. So, 16 shows later, I think we've earned that respect.
I agree.
Yeah.
And, one of my last questions before I let you go is, if you're a 22-year-old athlete who's making his way up into the sport, and, you're doing well in an organization, you've seen countless examples of bigger champions around the world sticking it out till they really knew where they stood. I'll give you the biggest example in the world. When Paddy Plimbitt was asked a question saying, he said that 7 years ago or 6 years ago, I got a call from the UFC, but I never took that opportunity because I knew that they would destroy me.
Right.
Exactly.
I took my time building my skill set up better and better till I knew, okay, now I'm ready.
Yeah.
And his record spoke for it.
Yeah.
Do you see a lot of our fighters not following that ethos?
100%. 100%.
Unfortunately, you expect at least their team to kind of understand that. But I feel like the people, not everybody, but a lot of them, right? The people that they surround themselves with should be the ones that guide them correctly.
Agreed.
But that's not happening either. But I think it's another thing that really irks me is we're offering you certain fights at Matrix Fight Nights.
Right.
You're rejecting 2, 3, 4, 5 profiles even.
Really?
Right?
Yeah.
There's
On the basis of what though? I mean, on the basis
too
of
tough a fight.
So my point is, if you're unable to take that fight at this level, listen, padded records don't work anymore. People
Sure.
see through
Yeah.
that. Or either you pad your record, you make yourself get there, but then you fail there, and that's the end of your career.
Exactly.
Which we have seen.
Yes, of course.
In a very limited amount of time. I think it's so much better to just accept those challenges on home soil, at Matrix Fight Night, treat it like your home. Take those risks, take those challenges, fail if you need to. You'll get that second opportunity. The rest of the world is not that kind.
somewhere I always feel that in any sport, in anything, there are waves. When Indian MMA started off in 2012, there was the first wave of athletes that have come and gone. The second wave started when there was a second chance for the promotion. That came and went. And now the third wave began in 2019 when you guys started. And by now you're seeing the same wave continue. The fighters are getting better. Fighters are getting smarter. The game is evolving. Camps are getting better.
Yeah.
Trainers are getting smarter. Trainers are training people to understand the science of the sport. If so much of evolution has happened, then why hasn't the mindset changed?
That's a good question.
That's a great question.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's gonna take a while.
I just genuinely don't feel like they think of the bigger picture.
Yeah,
They don't
that's
think
a-
of that long term, right?
Yeah.
They want that quick path. They want that quick fix. And I think over here, what's lacking is the heart of a true fighter. Not everybody, but there are many people that are more interested in being an influencer.
The sharp opposite.
As
Sure.
opposed to actually building that grit and that resilience and that true warrior heart that you need to be able to succeed in a crazy sport like this, right?
Yeah.
I think the equation is so simple to understand. If you win your fights, if you put your head down, work hard, win your fights, be dominant, everything else that you want, that fame, that money, that legacy, that follows. But there's a step before that you
Sure.
got to go through.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just such a funny sport. And this can go on forever. But catch up, we will be doing this more and more often as time goes on. With every Matrix Fight Night card coming through, moving forward, don't miss out on this fight night. I will be there, the bosses will be there, and more importantly, the fans and the action right here in New Delhi. Don't miss out MFN 17.
Thank you.
Get ready to fight!